Hello, I'm Lady Calamere. Welcome to my channel. I am doing my 171st presentation, and it will be on the goddess Rhiannon. Who is she? Good question. Okay, so if anyone's ever read the Mabinogi, and it has like Y in front of it, which means the Mabinogi, you will know there were 4 branches. Rhiannon is in the first and the third branches. Her influences are in the second and the other one, but she is directly in the first and the third branch. Nowhere in it describes her as a deity or a goddess. Also, there are no archaeological evidence of temples to her, or even places where she was worshipped, or any ancient invocations or evocations or prayers. Now, that being said, doesn't mean that she is not a goddess. These stories that were told about Rhiannon were all oral stories. They were not written down. And the Celts, well, from just the British Celts in Wales, the Welsh, even the Celts themselves didn't write these things down. Even when Rome invaded, they realized that they didn't write pretty much a lot of things down. And it later proved to be a disservice to them. The stories were written down during the medieval times, around the 12th, 13th century CE. And luckily they were written down. However, they were written down by Christians and monks. So what does that mean? Well, the monks and Christians had a way of preserving stories, however, throwing their own slant into it, their own ideas and their own biases. And they even put like, oh, I pray to God, or thank God, to like, and when they mean by God, they mean the Judeo-Christian God. They meant Jehovah. They meant their Lord, Jesus. Not so, and these stories were also appealing to medieval audiences. So, while they were preserved, if I was to take if I had a time machine and I spoke their language and I came and read their book to them, their books of the Mabinogi, the 4 branches. Number 1, they may be pissed that I have it in writing, but number 2, of like, some of the stories like, yeah, huh? What? Yeah, nope. And it'd be like, yep. So, and so also, a lot of things have also been lost through the different times invasions happened. So, and how much of the stories of how much of the Mabinogi had been lost through invasions before the monks got to it, and before, when you think about it, what was kept out what was forgotten, what was, redacted from the stories. So there you go with that. Now, in comes Reconstructionists, pagan Reconstructionists, and further confuses things. And the UPG, unverified personal gnosis, has now seemed to have become like verified gnosis out of, wave of magic wand. Sometimes people feature her as riding a unicorn. Yeah, her mount is not a unicorn. When stories say that this lady is from otherworldly, everyone immediately thinks fairies. Are there otherworldly beings other than fairies? I mean, otherworldly could be interdimensional entity, an interdimensional alien, nature spirits, fairies. It could be elementals. It could be a whole bunch of other things. It could be an alien from outer space, from a long distance galaxy, or even a deity. So then some people, oh, she lived in a crystal castle. I don't remember reading that. That she is queen of the fairies. Again, I'm old. But again, where does it say she was fairy queen? We also see things about her as being, or her name is derived from Rhigantona. Rhigantona is a theory, and it's a theory that she's connected to Rhigantona, not fact. Rhigantona means great queen, and I'm not saying Rhiannon is not a great queen, but where are the archaeological evidence to base that, of saying this? Yes, there are things that she's associated, that we find associated with her, but don't try to say that this is archaeological evidence that I know. It's not. In fact, quite a bit has been lost on this deity, this goddess. So we see some symbolism here. We see her dressed royally clad. We see a halter for her horse. We see 3 birds, which are the 3 birds of Rhiannon. And we see a horse. We see 2 horses here. Now, some people say, scholars say, she was Epona, and the Gaulish horse goddess Epona, and she was also the Irish macaw. Which macaw? Are you talking about the pregnant one? Because there are different macaw. There was even a warrior goddess, macaw. However, there are some similarities, but they are not the same being. They have different stories. They have different things about them that make them totally different. She is a horse goddess, and she does represent sovereignty, but she falls onto the mother, maiden, warrior, mother, crone, sovereign, queen. She falls under mother as well as sovereign. So we have her animal is, of course, horse as well as birds. Now, the birds that are associated with her, most agree that it is a songbird, while some believe it's a starling. But I believe it's more of a songbird because they were said to be able to entice people, to entrance people by their song, and be able to, when someone is dying, to help them, is said in the lore, to help them pass peacefully. It also is said to wake the dead and to bring happiness when their songs are sung. They're able to also, they're able to wake the spirits and, hey, Loki, stop tearing things up. Why? Why do you do this, boy? Every time. You're either biting me when I'm doing presentations or you're pulling things down. Stop it. She had 2 husbands. Her first husband was Pwyll. It's pronounced Pwyll, Pwyll. Then her next husband, after he dies, is Manedwyn. She has 1 child, Rhiannon, who is also otherworldly, has powers, and is also deals with the horse. Her mount is actually a horse, a white horse. She has great powers, but yet, as manifested in our realm, she, even though she's sovereign, she is the one who obeys the laws of the land. Now, people say, there are people that say, oh, she's the goddess of the moon. Rhiannon is the goddess of the moon. Nope. She is not the goddess of the moon. She's not a moon goddess. She may have some lunar associations. But she's not, when you look up the moon and say, oh, that's Rhiannon. No, it's not. That is not how they saw her. Look, you can call the moon whatever you want, Mr. Charlie, for all I care. But in verified gnosis, she is not a moon goddess. So, yes, she deals with magic, but she was also, in the 3rd book of the Binnagai, she was trapped by magic. When she was, this is a time when she was the wife of Manedwyn, and her son was also trapped, in which she was forced to, in this other world, she was enslaved to haul bales of hay while wearing halters of donkeys, which shows her horse motif. So I do, hopefully I do have time to get into her myths. I swear, boy, stop biting me. He's a little ankle biter. So she seems to be a patroness, or matron, or patron, however you want to call it, of the wrongfully accused. Stop! Whether wrongfully accused by friends and family, or on the internet or even in the court of law. She's also a goddess of loyalty. She deals with forgiveness and great strength and courage and her own sovereign self. So in medieval times, and this reflects on her stories written in medieval during that time, women could be betrothed, be arranged marriage, but it's up to them to say, I don't want to marry so and so. Where she was by her father in the other world, in the other realm, to be married off the wall. She didn't want to. But it's really a little bit confusing with that, because I really got to get into that with you. So let's talk a little bit about things that, like her stones and stuff, things that you can associate with her, and her metals or silver and gold. Also, if you work with stones, selenite is said to work with her, as well as apophyllite. Quartz goes well with her. And rose quartz as well. Definitely more towards the rose quartz than just the clear quartz, but clear quartz can also go with her. The colors that have been associated with her are white, but that's because of, especially the horse that she would ride when Pwith first spied her or saw her while he was on a sacred hill, where he would be told either two things: if you go to that hill, you will see a wondrous sight or something, or you'll get a beat down. And Pwith wasn't afraid of a beat down with all his men, and he happened to see a wondrous sight, and that was Rhiannon, of course. Other colors that are associated with her is gold. Oh, hello. And this is a statue of her that it's from by Pacific. Her crown kind of got broken thanks to kitty cats. Kitty cats. Right, Joker? Rhiannon is a goddess of wise choices. She's elegant, well spoken, and very honorable. Trying to find that book I had. I think it's under this pillow. Here it is, under the pillow, because my cat happened. This is the only book I know of that's on it. Rhiannon by Pagan Portals. It's Pagan Portal publisher, Rhiannon. Divine Queen of the Celtic Britons by Jenna Telliandrew. So this is the back of it. So if you're interested in her, I would definitely get it. Even when Poeth first sees her, she doesn't stop, even though she's chased, until she's asked to stop, to please stop. She does so by choice. Other things that she is associated with is people associate. I saw associations with the wind, and that sometimes she's said to hold the key, which this is a key between this world and the next, and the key of life and death, and that she's also associated with gates and portals. Gates also dealing with portals, and it could be a portal from who knows. So, could be an Einstein-Rosen bridge, which is a portal. Could be a portal to 10 galaxies away. I don't know. Just portals. So, a portal to this place, a portal to that place. So, one can look at goddess of thresholds. A threshold between one room and another, or the threshold between a kitchen and dining room, or the threshold between your home. Thresholds. She is described as extremely beautiful, and I don't remember how she was described with her hair. You're asking me to remember something I read a long time ago, but her hair, people have described it as long, flowing, and red. Rhiannon was also very giving, very charitable, also described as very kind and very loving to people. It is also believed that in the Mabinnagai that when she's pleased with the king, she is seen that she is like in her woman form. But when she is not, she's in, or when the king is out of balance with the land, she's in her horse form. I'm not going to say she's always in her horse form because the land and the king is out of balance. But it seems to be that way where, and also when you think about it, where she was punished and she is a horse, but she couldn't be killed or put to death, even though when a king is inaugurated, okay, this is going to be a little bit graphic. Just a warning. Get the kids out. Okay? Or put it on pause. Get the kids out. They don't need to hear this. Okay. You ready? Okay. So the king, the guy who was to be anointed king had, let's say relations. Let's put it in PG. Relations with the horse. And after this encounter, the horse was sacrificed, pulled apart, and cooked into like this broth, and in which this bath was made, and the king would win it and bathe in it, and the people would eat of the horse, and he would eat of the horse, and he would with the water with his mouth. He would just start drinking the broth with his mouth, some of the broth. And that was part of the pagan inauguration of the king. I did it as PG as possible, but yeah. So we see her even given down a punishment by Pwith for something she didn't do. Well, what am I getting at? Why don't they just tell the story already? I'm getting to that. So we, he sees this beautiful woman, this absolutely drop dead gorgeous woman on a beautiful white horse, a mare, I believe it was, and she's trotting along, and he had one of his associates, and Pwith is at this time a prince, a David, and they try to go after her, and the faster they run, it seems like she is just stays at this simple pace that's not too fast, but somehow in otherworldly powers, it's like as if she's in a portal where she's just going faster and faster and faster and faster. No, and they would race after her and couldn't catch up. They come back and say, you know, we couldn't catch her. So he says, well, we'll get our best horse. We'll get a horse, another faster horse, and send the associates after her. And the next day, they see her trotting along, this beautiful woman in golden golden dress. She's at a slow pace, but it's amazing. They run as fast as they can, and the faster they run, the further she gets at the same pace she was going, which wasn't running. She was just walking along. They come back, and the third day, and because 3 times the charm, Pwith gets his best horse, and he goes after her. And the faster he runs, it seems like the further she gets. And he calls out to her, basically, for the man that you most love, please halt for me. Stop. Rhiannon does. She said, I will stop gladly. And it would have been better for your horses if you would have asked a long time ago, a while ago. So all he had to do was ask. And she tells him that she is the daughter of Hyfith, Hen, and she was supposed to marry a man she did not love, Gwal. But she stopped because she fell in love with him. And he actually had a story of being in other world too, of him of a king taking his place, and he takes a king's place, and that he was honorable and didn't sleep with the king's wife. And this is a story for another time, because I'm already 29 minutes into this. But because of his honor, and Pwith meaning, I think, believe if I remember correctly, it means of good choice. But she tells him, I do not want Gwal unless you reject me. Pwith said that he does. He accepts it, and they said, good, we'll meet a year from now. And a year from now in the other world, like, because she seems like, not sure if it was this world or they meet in another world, and they have a banquet to have for the wedding. And a year later, actually, yeah, it is in the other world, the court of Hyphaith Hen, and Gwal comes to him and said, "Would you give me a blessing?" And Pwith was so happy. "Sure, I'll give you a boon." And Gwal said, "I want the hand of Rhiannon." And it was just almost like a heartbreaking moment for her. Rhiannon looked at Pwith. "You could be as quiet as long as you like, but never has anyone been as more stupid as you have been. Absolutely stupid." So they couldn't get married because he already blessed him to marry Rhiannon. But I did say Pwith was her first husband, didn't I? So Rhiannon concocted a plan, she said, so the wedding will be another year, and we're going to have a big banquet, but she gives Pwith a magical bag. And she told him exactly what to do and how to dress. So when Gwal and Rhiannon were supposed to be married and there was a big banquet, a beggar came. And he said, "I would ask for a boon that all I want is some of the food from the banquet because I'm hungry." So Gwal was happy and he said, "Okay, let's give him some food." And no matter how much food was placed in this bag, it didn't fill. And dish after dish after dish was put in this bag. Gwal asked, will your bag ever be full?" And the beggar said, "No, not never, until a nobleman who's endowed with territory and land and power comes to this bag, gets up and comes to the bag and put both feet in the bag and say enough has been put there." So Gwal had enough about the shenanigans, and he does that. And quickly Pwith pulls the bag over Gwal, ties it up, and the men of Pwith comes out of the bushes and out of hiding. And Pwith said, "There's a badger in the bag." That's where you get badger in the bag from, which is a terrible thing. But so the men beat the bag and beat him with sticks. And they were laughing and kicking him and punching him. And Rhiannon said, "Stop." So now a thing was said. Gwal said, "Let me out of here." "No, not until you promise to leave us alone and let us get married." Gwal promises. So they get married. Now, everyone that in life had said Rhiannon was nice and kind and they loved her. She was so beautiful and giving and charitable. 1 year went by, still not pregnant. 2 years went by, still not pregnant. Now the people are saying, "You should just get another wife, put her aside." And Pwith said, "No way." They just don't like the fact that she's not giving Pwith an heir to the throne, especially a son. But she's not pregnant. 3 years go by. Three's a charm. She is pregnant. Well, she gives birth. And the newly mother has her handmaidens there, her maids there. But each one, the night of the birth, Each one, they fall asleep, one after the other, after the other, after the other. As Rhiannon falls asleep. Well, they wake up and the baby's not there. Rhiannon's still asleep. They were afraid of being punished and put to death. So they're nurses actually. So these nurses, they sacrifice a staghound puppy. And they smear the blood on her hands and on her face. And they take the bones, as they worked really hard on this, to get the meat off the bones. And they arranged the bones all around her. And Rhiannon asked, "Where's my baby? Where's my boy?" The nurses said, "You're a monster. You're terrible. You ate your own son. We tried to stop you." But she said, "Tell me the truth where my baby is, and none of you will be punished." But they kept to their story, and they told Pwith. And instead of anyone listening to her because they see the bones around her, it's not like they had DNA evidence, like they could take the bones and say, "Nope, these are dog bones. Okay, girls, where's the puppy? What did you do? I mean, where's the baby? What did you do with it? And where's the staghound puppy?" Because that's what it is. But they denied it, and of course, her being otherworldly, people kind of like, yeah, she probably ate it. She's like the Incredible Hulk, because we all tried to stop her. No one can stop her. So some people wanted her put to death, but Pwith didn't allow it. He gave her an unusual punishment, showing her horse characteristic, that she would go daily to the mounting block, be it hot or cold, sunny or windy or rainy or snowing, that she was to recount her crime about how she ate her baby, that she performed an act of cannibalism, and that she was to offer people a ride on her back, like a horse, to, the court of Pwith. Now, it's also said in the stories that, when there were feasts, she would sit by her husband. Now, this was to be carried out for a number of 7 years. So we already see that her numbers are 3 and 7. Now, this happened on Beltane. What happened with her baby being so-called Eden. But there was a man, T-E-Y, I think it's T-E-Y-R-N-O-N. It is he has a middle name, and Theont. It would be Theont because the 2 L's is T sound in the Welsh dialect of the Celtic language, of the Gaelic, of the Gaelic language, because they spoke a dialect of a Gaelic. So every May, his prize horse would give a birth, and the foal was snatched. And one night, one Beltane Eve, he decided to sit there. And this is very important to the story. I'm not losing track. He saw this hideous hand with this hideous claw ready to snatch the foal, and he sliced off its arm, and the creature howled but disappeared. So he went out to look for it. Now, and if I vaguely remembered that he sees a boy, but first he sees it as a foal, and then he comes back and sees a boy. And he takes it in and he names it. I don't remember the Welsh Gaelic name for him, but I think it's Gwri, Gwri, but I don't remember the rest. It's like two other words, but it means blooming golden hair because of his hair. Now, he raises this child as his own, as if it was his own flesh and blood. But this child was like no other child. He grew pretty fast, and he was very intelligent for his age. Even when he turned 2, still a toddler, acted like more of a 6 or 8 year old. And by the time he turned 4, he was allowed to ride a horse. In fact, I think it's Tyrion's wife, that's the man who suggested that we'll give him that horse that you saved on Beltane night, the same horse that they found the boy. And it was agreed upon. But as he grew, he started looking more like Pwith, with his golden hair and his good looks. And then he remembered the story of what happened to poor Rhiannon. So he says, we have to take this boy. We have to do the right thing. We love this boy with our heart and soul. You know that they had to say that. You know they had to say that. But we have to do the right thing and have Rhiannon exonerated. So they take him to the Dyfed, and there they meet Rhiannon, and Rhiannon recounted her story, but then she looked at the boy, and they said she offered a ride on her back, but they refused. I mean, some people really did refuse this. Not everyone took a ride. Not everyone took that offer of riding on Rhiannon, because they still liked her. Some people still liked her or felt sorry for her. Well, they went to the court. In the story, when she sees this boy, she thanks the Christian God. Oh, thank God. Because they said, this is your son, my lady. And whoever told you these lies did you wrong. And Rhiannon goes, oh, thank God. What a relief from my anxiety. So that's why she named them Pryderi. Pryderi comes from the word Prydir, meaning worry or anxiety. Which I'm about to get an anxiety attack right now with these two cats. Leave her alone. Joker? Joker, leave Lady Bost alone. She wasn't doing anything to you. Come here. So, it wasn't even 7 years. She did not do the 7 years. She was exonerated. And the belief is that Wall had something to do with it. So the third branch picks off immediately where the second branch leaves off of, but this only has sort of like Rhiannon's influence, and it deals with it picks up immediately where, you know, the burial Brand's head, which is in London, and this is also deals with where Pryderi, the son of Pwyth, and Rhiannon becomes great friends with Manadwyn, who is a son of Tyr, Llyr was Tyr, not the Norse god Tyr. And so, yeah. But when we'll get to the third branch, the third branch, we see. I'm sorry, the second branch picks. So, yeah, the third branch. So it's the second branch that only like Rhiannon has a little bit of influences, but it's not. She doesn't feature in it. But in the third branch, she does. But she's not the big player as she was in the first. And Pardiri is great, is best friends with Manadwin. And he tells his mother that I have offered your hand in marriage. And of course, Rhiannon was like, what? Well, she decides, yes, I do accept. And they become wedded. And we see that one day, Wall has friends, and one day a cloud comes to Dyfed, and everything and everyone is gone but them, but the four. Pryderi, his wife, Manadwin, and Rhiannon. In which then they go to London, and they go to England, and they take different, like they make saddles, and they make so good that they put everyone out of business where everyone wants to kill them, and they escape, and they go eventually making shoes, in which they do the best, and in which everyone wants to kill them because they put them out of business, and shields, and in which it's this whole big story. And one day, you know, Pryderi sees this castle that wasn't there before, and he goes in and he sees this huge cauldron that's hanging above from a chain that seems to have no end. It just goes up into the sky, like the beanstalk and giant and the giant and the beanstalk story. So he looks at it and he becomes frozen. Rhiannon is upset. Manadwin doesn't go save him, and she said, You're a coward. I'm going after my son." And then she gets entranced. And this is where they go into the other world, and where we find out that Rhiannon was enslaved. And this is all dealing with Wall and his friends. Snap. So eventually, Manadwin makes a great, decides to make this crop, and in which when it's time to reap, he finds it all gone. So he goes back home, and his next day he's gonna reap his crops. That one's gone. So instead of going home, he waits, and he sees like all these mice coming and eating the crops. Finally, when he goes after him, no matter what he does, he can't stop them, except for he found this fat mouse, the fattest that he caught. And he decided he's going to hang it. He makes a gallows. Ow! Stop! You bit me. So as he's going to hang this mouse, he keeps coming. A person keeps coming to him and saying, "Oh, let the mouse go. I'll give you, don't hang it. I'll give you money. I'll give you whatever you want." And he won't. Then, like a I believe it's a monk that comes by, and he offers so much to the to Manado, and he says, "No, I'm going to hang this fat mouse." Then, of course, a bishop comes by, and you see the Christian, the monk, and the bishop, and the bishop promises him so much, and he says, "No, it won't." Then the bishop said, "Listen, it was me. I did the spell. All the mice were my people, and the fat one is pregnant, and she's my wife." At one time, the clergy was allowed to marry. Did you know that in the Catholic Church? Look that up. They were allowed to marry. But the church didn't want to be responsible anymore, pay for, the wife and the children. So they said, "Nope, the priest's got to be celibate. No girlfriends or marriage for you." But the bishop said, "Listen, this is my wife." And he goes, "No, I want my friend Pardiri, and I want my wife back. So, we want our kingdom back. We want our people back." So they struck a bargain, and they said that Wall, actually, remember when you did the badger in the bag with Grawl, son of Clud? Well, he decided to get back at you. I decided to get back at you too. So that's what happened. And they when everything was brought back, Rhiannon explained how she had like the halters of donkeys put on her while she was hauling hay, and that Pradiri had the gate hammers of his court around his neck, while around her the collars of jackasses, donkeys, hauling hay, and that was her imprisonment. But and that concludes that story of them coming back. Concludes the end of the third branch of the Mabinogi. So here we see her association with the horse again. And Manadwin, instead of fighting, they ran. Instead of fighting for the right to make saddles and shields and shoes, they ran. And they kept coming back, and we see that it's as if the land wasn't approving of the king. It's just, sometimes you gotta look at the stories and do some interpretation of it, and like sort of really look at it. So we see Rhiannon. She could have used, when Pwith punished her, she could have used her powers to escape into the other world. She could have, if she was that strong to, supposedly that strong to stop the nurses from grabbing the child out of her hand and eating it, what could have stopped her? Who could have made her do these punishments? No, she followed the laws of the land and the laws that were made. And that the rulers were also supposed to follow the laws of the people that were made beforehand, the rule of the land. She is a goddess of magic. We also see her affinity with the number with her numbers 3 and 7. We know that she is a goddess of magic, and she deals with, again, Beltane, May Eve, as well as her son, Pryderi, who deals with that day. Rhiannon is becoming more and more popular, increasingly popular with neo-paganism. Rhiannon is evoked for things such as domestic happiness, marriage, beauty, happiness, true love. She's petitioned to protect against turmoil and disasters of all kinds. But she's also called in times of trauma and humiliation. She's also good for parents who've lost a child, whether they lost a child through death, whether the child was kidnapped, abducted, or a child that they lost to a cult, or a child who ran away, or a child who's lost on drugs and alcohol, or a child that is lost to mental illness, or a child that is in a coma, where her child, when she saw her child like just unmoving, but he was trapped in another world. So we see that she is good for that. When dealing with loss of a child, she knows what the loss of a spouse. She with dies. So when you are dealing with the loss of your domestic partner, your husband, your wife, your other half who you love so much, you can turn to Rhiannon. You could turn to this deity for times of loss. She's also a goddess of dealing with prosperity and abundance and plenty. And for those who have to face court, those who have to go to court, maybe they're going to lose their child through a custody battle, especially when they don't deserve to lose their child, when the other half is being a spiteful shit. If you're a good mother or father and you don't deserve to lose your child and not see your child because the other person has money and can afford a good lawyer, and maybe all the allegations they're saying is bullshit. I've known people, and this was back in the 90s and even the 80s. Oh, this person practices witchcraft, shouldn't be around a child, and of course the court agrees. Or this person is practicing voodoo or Santeria or a Satanist, even though the person is well-rounded, or they're taking very good care of their child, even if they have a mental illness and they're taking care of it, and they don't harm the child, and they're taking care of the child, and they're feeding the child, they're taking the child to school or whatever. They keep the child clean. You can have the other half could be a real piece of shit and don't even care about the child, just wants to spite the other half. Trust me, I've heard a lot of stories where, you have a person using heavy drugs, but they took something where they could, when they take a urine test, comes out clean, and, oh, this person is a witch, that person is a pagan, oh, this person is a Satanist, I can prove it. So imagine back then losing your kid because of religion, or losing your kid because you didn't have as much money as the other spouse, the ex. Imagine that. Or because you live in a rental and the other person has a mansion. So these are the things that I'm talking about. Losing your child over bullshit. So there were even back then where, oh, the mother has a right and not the father, even though the father is more rounded and more better suited for the child, we're just going to give it to the mother. Even that's fucking wrong. Especially if you have a good parent that loves their child. And I understand that even, what if the other person was abusive to the spouse, then okay. You know what? You may be a good parent if someone looks at your child wrong. You're gonna defend your child, but you go beat up your wife or your husband. No. Yeah, yeah. I don't think you're a good fit to raise your kid. Okay, I understand that. Perfectly understandable. But to get off that little soapbox there, it's also losing your child through a custody battle. It's also Rhiannon's specialty to help you. So God, she's invoked for beauty. To bring beauty not only to yourself but to your life, and to feel inner and outer beauty. She's also helps you to deal with loyalty, to be loyal to yourself and do what you need to do for yourself. So Rhiannon, yes, she is a queen. But as tying her to Regentona, there's no evidence, archaeological evidence, for that goddess Regentona. And I think Regentona, I don't even think that is even an ancient goddess. I believe that's more of a reconstructionist goddess, and through neo-pagan reconstructionists, and it's a theory, it's theoretical, and that there was a goddess named Regentona, and at least not exactly as I'm aware of. And trust me, I used to be of believing that her name derived from Regentona, but the more you study and the more you know and the more you learn, the more you grow, right? Made a little rhyme out of that. So yeah, Rhiannon can help you to achieve greatness within yourself and achieve greatness with what you want to do. And with her songbirds, to lull someone, to help someone to die in a peaceful way when they're sick, and when you feel ill, you could say, "Please, Rhiannon, when it's my time to go, please send your songbird so I may drift away." Or if you know someone that is dying, No matter what you're going to do, no matter what you can do or what medicine can do, they're going to die. No matter what. You can ask Rhiannon to please send your songbirds to my mother, my grandfather, my other half who is dying of an illness or old age, to let them die peacefully. You can also say, Rhiannon, to send your songbirds to someone who crossed over so that they can hear, so that you can bring them to you, so that you can have a talk, that you can communicate with them. So that's just some ideas of what to use Rhiannon for. I know my best friend, Peggy, named her daughter Rhiannon. She calls her Reese for short. But I'm sure she's going to be thrilled of seeing this presentation. Hello, Peggy. Love you. So, Regentona is actually supposed to mean great queen or divine queen. And but anyways, Rhiannon can help you plan for a wedding. She's been wed twice and such a beautiful banquet, and she can help you if you really want a spouse, or if you want to be able to marry your spouse. You can petition Rhiannon to let this wed, that I happily accept this person, and I hope there's a wedding and to have a peaceful wedding. So it's another idea. So she's a goddess of weddings, goddess of engagements, goddess of finding your life partner. Oh, offerings. People offer her different things. Some ideas is honey cakes and honey and sweet wine. I know some people offer her sweet wine. Baked, well, bread is baked, but yeah, baked breads, because you can always have fried breads. But baked breads and fruits, and maybe have desserts for her, a pie or a cake, chocolate. You can't go wrong with chocolate, especially for her. I could also give her elegant things like godiva, luscious things like godivas, and especially truffles of any sort, lint candy, chocolate, images of horses and songbirds and birds, just birds in general, have around for her. So anyways, gosh, we're past an hour and 8 minutes, almost an hour and 9 minutes. I want to thank you for staying this long with me and listening to me yap away. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then give me a thumbs down. If you really like it, and I really appreciate it, is subscribe to my channel. So the more likes and you give it, the more subscriptions. I don't get money for this. I don't have a Patreon account. I haven't even monetized this channel. Even if I wanted to, I can't. I don't have 1,000 subscribers. But it helps this video go to someone else, find someone else to find it easy, so that they can get the information. And that's why I do it. I love what I do, and I do it for free. I'm not making 1 red cent, and I'm not asking you for a red cent. So please subscribe. That's be payment enough. Also think about for Rhiannon, uh, charities that help horses, especially retired race horses, so that so that they can have a good retirement. Think about giving money to charities and rescue centers that help horses, especially horses that have been through neglect, terrible abuse. Uh, when in like New Orleans or New York, don't ride those horse carriages. From from what I've seen, and even petitions have been made about how these horses are abused. I'm not going to go on to a big spiel about that, but just look that up. How these these horses are forced to work in blazing heat where they're overworked and they even collapse. It's just so horrible. You know, be kind to animals. Also, I also wouldn't mind some protection spells. I got a Looney Tune stalker. Well, he's stalking my friend, but he's a he's being the target of the main. He's a target of the main. He's a main target of the stalker, but he's stalking everyone that he cares about, and I just happen to be uh, stalked where I had, you know, it's internet stalking, it's internet trolling. That's what it is. But it could get out of hand. Sometimes these things can get out of hand. So I wouldn't mind even a year from now or 10 years from now, if you see this video, to send protection. I allow it. I accept spells of protection. If you want, do spells of money and good luck, and also may my friends be protected, my animals protected. So hey, if you want to do that as payment for this video, you go right ahead. You go send good spirits to me, good mojo, good luck, whatever. A short ceremony, a long ceremony, you'll mention me in your full moon rituals for good things to happen. I accept it. But anyways, I want to thank you so much, and I'd like to hear what you think about Rhiannon in the comments, and I will try to answer as soon as possible, or at least react to it. And I want to thank you so much. Thank you for all the subscriptions and all the likes. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And my cats love you. And as always, blessed be.